Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, I welcome everyone to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily call. Today, Maharaj is going to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, verse number 14. Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for joining and giving your valuable time and association to all of us this morning. You can please take over, Maharaj. I think Maharaj is a little busy. I'll play some kirtan before Maharaj becomes ready. Guru Maharaj, are you ready to give?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening at once. All gonna meet them.
That's good.
So one more minute and I'll be with you.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, verse number 14. Wait a minute, I have somebody wants to get in my door and I have to open the door. Thank you. Sorry about the delay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narudan Ugalam Baspam Aukatyad Devagi Sute Niryatyad Rajano Bhadram Itishyad Bandava Striya. Translation. The female relatives, whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna, came out of the palace. They could stop their tears only with great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. Read it again. The female relatives, whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna, came out of the palace. They could stop their tears only with the great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. There were hundreds of ladies in the palace of Hastinapur. All of them were affectionate to Krishna. All of them were relatives also. When they saw that Krishna was going away from the palace for his native place, they were very anxious for him, and as usual, tears began to roll down their cheeks. They thought at the same time that tears at that moment might be a cause of misfortune for Krishna. Therefore, they wanted to check them. This was very difficult for them because the tears could not be checked. Therefore, they smeared their tears in their eyes, and their hearts throbbed. Therefore, ladies who were the wives and daughters-in-law of those who died on the battlefield never came in direct contact with Krishna. But all of them heard of him and his great activities, and thus they thought of him, talked of him, his name, fame, etc., and became affectionate also like those who were in direct contact. Therefore, directly or indirectly, anyone who thinks of Krishna, talks of Krishna, or worships Krishna becomes attached to him. Because Krishna is absolute, there is no difference between his name, form, qualities, etc. Our intimate relation with Krishna can be confidentially revived by all our talking of, hearing of, or remembering him. It is done due to spiritual potency. Keep it covered. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gandhavani Pacharine Nirvase Sunyavadi Pasyatya Satarine Vanchakopatu Vishcha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Chapatitanam Pavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauda Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So you can see the emotional scene as the ladies are expressing their painful experience of watching Krishna depart from their association. At the same time, they're very conscious that such tears can bring inauspiciousness, and so they're checking them. But it says, as it says here, it was impossible to check. So they did their best to somehow or other not let Krishna see what was happening with them. So this is love for Krishna. One of the symptoms of love for Krishna is ecstatic symptoms by tears in the eyes. This is one of the many ecstatic symptoms. Sometimes we see that even when people chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It even happens with people who have no awareness of Krishna, but somehow their heart is soft enough and they come in contact with the Maha Mantra. And when they do, all of a sudden they experience this crying. This happened in public during a Ratha Yatra one year in London, where one lady was hearing the kirtan from a distance. She started running towards the sound, came all the way up into the kirtan, and then went right up to the chanter. And she was crying. She was just an ordinary person from the sideline. She was crying. She said, "What are you chanting? I can't stop crying." It's so wonderful. So Krishna is like that. He's all attractive. But unless our hearts are soft, we can't develop that attraction for Krishna. That's why when Krishna wanted to steal butter, the butter was always soft and tasty. But Krishna will steal your heart only when your heart becomes soft. If you have a hard heart, it's like hard butter. You try to put it on bread, it breaks the bread. So the heart has to become soft. And here's the way by which the heart can become soft: by hearing and chanting and remembering the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the heart may be hard and the mind may be, let me say, wild, still, if we continue to hear in this process of regular hearing about Krishna and accelerate that hearing process more and more, then gradually you penetrate through that hard heart, and the heart starts to become more malleable, more soft and palatable. And gradually one starts to feel natural affection towards Krishna, and symptoms of the ecstasy may appear in the mind of a devotee, even at any stage of one's Krishna consciousness. And of course, when it's done at the higher stages, it's continuous. But when it's done at the lower stages, it's occasional. It's occasional because we haven't really developed our consciousness of full attraction to Krishna. Although that attraction is not fully developed, it still remains within the heart. In other words, the soul is fully attracted to Krishna. And because the soul sits upon the heart, some people ask, well, where is the soul located in the body? It sits right on top of the heart. It's not inside the heart. The heart is the seat where the soul sits. And therefore, emotions are coming from that place within the body. But how can an organ of the body have emotions? Well, it's only because of the presence of the soul. That's why the emotions are strongest in the heart region, because that's where the heart soul is situated. Although it can travel up into the mind also, because the soul energy pervades the entire body. But it's mostly situated in the heart area. That's why we say, well, I give my heart to you, I love you with all my heart. It's really, we're talking about the soul's existence within the heart, on the heart. And that love is there. And it's awakened by hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord and engaging in devotional service, particularly by serving great souls. As it says, one who engages in service to great souls, that great service is done. And by such service, one becomes attracted to Krishna more and more. The verses from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, Shrushrushra Shradadanas Vasudeva Kataruchi Shanmiyate Seva Pipa Pornyas Tirthan Sevayat. By service to great souls, great service is done. And by such service, one gets an affinity to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Now, this is where this desire to awaken our attention to hear and chant the glories of the Lord comes, is by serving the Vaishnavas, especially those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness. And as we do that, we get an attraction for hearing and chanting. And then as we develop in that area, then our devotional service is clear. And we're moving steadily towards the goal of pure love of God. But we need to get that taste, that attraction, that ruchi. And it comes by hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. But if we don't serve great souls, then it'll become very difficult to awaken that attraction for hearing and chanting. And even if we forcibly try to do that without serving great souls, it will not be continuous. So these two things have to be simultaneously applied. So we look for opportunities to serve the Vaishnavas. This is where the major step in our Krishna consciousness takes place, by looking for opportunities to serve the devotees. We have to do that. It's not something that is optional. We have to serve the devotees. And we're not bhajananandis, where we simply do our own bhajan in a cloistered way, where we simply chant and read and hear. We make a little bit of advancement, but we don't get a real taste for Krishna consciousness. Taste doesn't come simply by what we call nirjan bhajan. Nirjan bhajan is a stage of devotional service, but that is when one has reached perfection. But if we become, of course, we won't become, because Prabhupada's movement is not geared in that way, but there are a class of spiritualists who are called bhajananandis, where they don't want to preach, they simply want to do their own internal bhajans. But we are preachers, and at the same time, we are engaged in serving Krishna, Krishna's devotees, and people in general by giving them Krishna consciousness. By doing all of these, then the taste for hearing and chanting becomes naturally awakened as the soul becomes more and more prominent in the activities of devotional service. That's why you see devotees who don't preach, they have the most problems. They're always having problems. Why? Because they're just not engaged in giving Krishna consciousness to others. Those who are engaged in giving Krishna consciousness to others, they're on a whole different platform of experiencing. So what is that preaching? That means somehow or other doing something in some form or another to awaken or inspire persons to come closer to Krishna in devotion. And that will help in a very direct way to inspire our own bhajan in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Because this is where the essence, I was just talking to one devotee who was very much into deity worship, and had a very strong attachment to deity worship, and very much strongly attached to devotion to the deity. In other words, it was genuine, but there wasn't much time for serving devotees. Later, that person was put in the position of having to serve the devotees and at the same time continue with her deity worship. And then she did that. And as she served the devotees more and more and more and more and more, her attraction for deity worship increased. But then, after some time now, there has been a very strong desire to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. I was just speaking to that person just recently, and now when she thinks, all I want to do is chant, I want to read, I've got to, she's like that. So her, you can see how devotional service progresses. It started off with individual worship, then went to service to the Vaishnavas. After service to the Vaishnavas came, then the attraction for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord became more and more and more. So this is a process. If you don't know the process of bhakti, then you will not be able to understand the goal, or you will not be able to reach the goal. one great devotee in our movement explains that when he was trying to understand how to make advancement in devotional service, he understood that if I don't know how bhakti works, how will I ever be able to achieve the goal of bhakti? So therefore, he went through great study and understanding deeper of how the system of bhakti philosophically, practically works. And by doing that, it becomes more understandable where I am in devotional service, where I need to grow, and how to achieve the goal of Krishna consciousness. So devotees should definitely hear regularly. These classes we have every day are opportunities to hear about the glories of the Lord. We hear just how attractive Krishna is by the residents of Hastinapur. When we read about the attraction of Krishna's associates and how much they love him and how much they can't live without him, and the expressions they exhibit when there is some apparent, not apparent, but evident that he will be leaving their association, it becomes impossible. So this whole series that we've been speaking of, the verses, are all of the affection from the different personalities, how they're experiencing the anxiety of separation from Krishna. So we can learn from the great souls what it means to be Krishna conscious. And we can also come to that stage of the same, because the soul is the same. Every soul has an unlimited and unending attachment to Krishna in love. But it has to be awakened through this process of bhakti. And one of the main things is to serve great souls and at the same time hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And the glories of the Lord are as unlimited as the Lord. Some devotees like to hear about Krishna's pastimes in Kurukshetra, the warrior Krishna. Some like to hear about Krishna's pastimes with his mother in Vrindavan, Bal Krishna, when he steals butter. Some devotees may like to hear about Krishna when he's with his residents in Vrindavan, the gopis and the gopas. And so Krishna has many aspects to his activities, and therefore different varieties of tastes come in relationship to Krishna according to the type of activity he expressed. But it's all centered around Krishna. And it's all sweet. And that's why Prabhupada would say, devotional service is like a sweet ball. You can taste, if you bite the top of the sweet ball, it's sweet. You bite the side of the sweet ball, it's sweet. You bite the bottom of the sweet ball, it's still sweet. It's always sweet. That's Krishna consciousness. So here, hearing and chanting the glories of love. And then Srinvata, Swakata, Krishna, Purnya, Shravana, Kirtanaha, Ridyanto sto Abhadrani, Vidyanoti Surit Satam. By regular hearing of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one develops a taste for that. Once that taste comes, then Krishna, within the heart of his devotee, cleanses the heart of the devotee and gives that devotee attraction for him more and more. And this is the process that we are in devotional service. I hope my voice is not so offensive. I'm a little bit sick, and so I'm straining to speak today. So if it's causing anybody any kind of headache or disturbances, I apologize for that. Only because of this struggle with this particular illness. Anyway, this is what we are faced with. This is the opportunity. So, but devotees don't have a taste for hearing and chanting. Even we see, even within our society, there are very advanced devotees, apparently advanced, who don't spend much time hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Of course, many of them are engaged in preaching, which is also as good as hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. But they also need their own personal nourishment. And that comes with hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, which are unlimited and unlimitedly full of spiritual ras or sweetness. Okay. So, okay, so that takes us up to the half-hour mark. So there's much more we could say, but I want to open it up for questions.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such wonderful class. You mentioned about many points, preaching and regular hearing, and also how the Hastinapur Vasis, the ladies, how they couldn't stop their tears due to the immense affection towards Krishna. And we also experience sometimes while chanting, but that is very rare occasion, but those are the exalted devotees or exalted souls who always feel this type of ecstasy when they think about Krishna. Very nicely said. Very nice class, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead. And please turn on your cameras. That would be very nice to see all of you. Thank you so much.
Can you shut
Yes, Scarlett Mataji, you want to go ahead?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, Guru Maharaj, and all glories to assembled devotees. I hear about the devotional service to association with the devotees and so on. I wonder when it's starting to be a problem in the place, could it be it's a karma of the building that affects the situation for the devotees, for the temple, for the spiritual center? Could it be the karma of the building that it's affecting, or is it something else?
Devotional service is transcendental to everything material. There are people who are preaching in jail, who are hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord in jail and are feeling ecstasy. So it's not about the place, it's about the consciousness.
Okay.
When consciousness is focused on devotion, then it reaches the spiritual platform or the transcendental platform. Place is incidental.
Thank you.
Guru Maharaj, I just want to have a clarification. Wearing tilak and kantimala, is those also the tools of preaching about Krishna, Guru Maharaj?
Prabhupada said that is our what's he called? Let me see, he used different terms. That is our identity. That is our identity. And it's makeup. It's good makeup. Not like the cosmetics we buy in the different stores, which are full of chemicals. This is pure makeup.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, because of Tilak, many people connected to me and asked about what is that, and I got a chance to talk about Krishna and Tulsi. So I feel wonderful. Like recently, day before yesterday, when I went to doctor office, there the nurse asked me, "What is that on your forehead?" So I explained to him. So he was so surprised to hear, "Oh, okay." I was thinking like, glad I would have some books with me. I didn't carry anything. Oh, Krishna, I missed this chance, I thought. But that's glad that I could speak about Krishna a little bit there.
Here's the story. I'll tell you a quick little story. Parijata, I'll get to you next. I just want to tell this story. There was one factory in India where everybody was a Hindu in the factory, and they all would come with tilak on every day to work. So then the factory was sold to a Muslim. He became the owner of the factory. And he told all the Hindu workers, you cannot come to work anymore with tilak on. If you do, you will not come to work anymore. So the next day, everyone took off their tilak except one man. And then the proprietor, the Muslim, he said, you know, you were warned not to come. He said, that's okay. This is my religion. I'm proud of it. I'm not going to give it up. And the way he said it, and it really went right to the heart of the Muslim. And he said, okay. He said, all the rest of you can't wear tilak, but he can. So people, if you actually don't feel inhibited or embarrassed or out of place because you're different, people will respect that. But if you show some inhibition or some, feelings of like embarrassment because you're different, then people will not appreciate you. You shouldn't be arrogant about it. You should go ahead. This is my religion. Why should I be ashamed of it?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much. Parijata Mataji, you want to go ahead? Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, yes, Mataji. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to assembled devotees. Maharaj, I have a question and I've struggled with it.
Where did you go? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Sorry?
Okay, now I see you. I lost you.
Okay. So Maharaj, I have a question and I used to struggle with it a lot. I don't have clarity on this. It was said initially about the expression of the emotions in front of Lord or the deity. So I once heard someone saying in Vrindavan that one should have a control over one should have control over his or her tears in front of Lord, because some people said that, okay, you are acting like a sahajiya, or it's like a display of what you say, it's like a drama, so since then a lot of people said that, and since then I have been quite vigilant about it, and I have been quite careful about it. I recently went to Chaupati and I saw Radha Gopinathji after 3 years, and my family went after 6 years. So I have a deep connection with Radha Gopinath, and it's like my second home, and I saw them after a long time, and I could not control my tears, and at the same time I had to retire to a corner and take care of myself. It was this rush of emotions, within me, and at the same time I was careful about people not watching me, because they are too critical about this. Why do we have to criticize something like this? Now, it's not necessary that somebody is doing a drama, or it's like a melodrama, or it's like a being sahaji and all that. Why can't a person be just emotional and express his or her feeling in front of Lord? And what's the right way to think about it? And how should we take it if somebody is expressing some emotion, for example, standing in front of a deity and, kind of be tearful, tears of joy maybe, or some people like to dance in ecstasy, and then they're like having tears of joy. So I don't know. I'm quite confused about this. How should we go about it? Is it okay?
Well, I can't give you a one-word answer, but I can give you a few words that come by way of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada did kind of caution devotees, because he said, people will, if you do that, then people will imitate that. And then that imitation becomes cheap. He said, for the benefit of others, try to restrict it. But then again, when Prabhupada, in different times, when he was with the deities in Atlanta, Georgia, Gaudiyattai deities, and he started to sing Parama Karuna Bahuduri Jani Nitai Gaura Chanda Sabayavatara Sadosidomani Kevalaya Nanda Kanda. He didn't get that far. He got maybe a few words, and then he just closed his eyes, and tears were rolling down his eyes. And then there were hundreds of people there. The whole place went silent. Prabhupada couldn't check it. He tried to check it, but he couldn't. It was just too much. Just like that we read from this particular example here, the ladies tried to check it, so they kept the tears within their eyes by closing their eyelids. So Prabhupada kind of like, because he knew there were so many people who were, but the thing is, my thing is, we shouldn't give up the real thing just because people take the real thing and turn it into something cheap. Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't stop printing money because people make counterfeits. In other words, you have to, if you can somehow or other express that in a way that is not so much visible to others, that would be the best. But, the Sahajis, they just roll on the ground. And there's some of them, they take a bunch of chilies and ginger, and it causes tears in their eyes in order to show how much love they have for being noticed. So, yeah. So Prabhupada was careful, but this is one of many incidents where Prabhupada couldn't check his tears, but he also told us to be very careful. If we do have these natural emotions, not to display them so openly. But I wouldn't say you would have to like forcibly cause yourself unhappiness. This is a tough question to really come to a clear answer. But I would say if that emotion does come, then try to, and somehow or other, keep it between you and Krishna. don't let others become aware of what you're experiencing. Take your sorry and cover your head. Something like.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Does that help?
Yes, I think I'm on the right track, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah, not so easy. I have before I don't want to deviate from the subject matter, but I got a letter from one of my disciples whose mother is going through some difficulty, and she's asking for some naturopathic advice. Can you provide some naturopathic advice?
Yes, Maharaj. It depends. Maybe I can ask them what she's going through. Yes, definitely, Maharaj.
Okay, I'll send you the information.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Sri Devi.
Yes, Mataji. Sri Devi Mataji, please.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your holiness, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for making this tremendous sacrifice in spite of being ill to enlighten us, to enliven us, to give us your mercy. I'm so grateful for you. Guru Maharaj, on this question of the building, I know you said our consciousness is what matters. And it really doesn't matter where we are, which situation, we can always serve the Lord. But if we are consciously trying to make a nice arrangement, we want to have a nice situation, like I'm talking personally, I want to have a nice Vastu home so that I can do my best for my patient, for my clients when they come for mental health therapy. And I've been trying, as you know. And
I got an answer for that.
okay.
You're putting second first and first second. Second is place. First is the actual devotional service. So second has an influence also, obviously. As I said, it's incremental, but it has an effect. Therefore, if you focus on, just like people in jail, what can they do? They can't change the environment, but therefore they have to work hard in order to practice Krishna consciousness. So it may be a lot harder for them in that environment because the environment is contrary. So if you find that the environment or the arrangement in the environment is not suitable for, then you have to work with whatever you have and do whatever you can. And if you start from there, then Krishna will show you how to improve. You're putting the cart before the horse, and therefore you'll never get anywhere. Start where you are and just do your service. And in due course of time, like Krishna's arrangement, things will automatically improve if he's pleased by your efforts.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances at your lotus feet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please set my humble bases. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. I'm not that well as well, but I just really wanted to come and we're in the car, so I really hope it doesn't cut out as well. John's driving. So you see John. Just
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, nice to see you, John. We lost your audio.
Mataji, you went on mute.
Oh, Hare Krishna, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Hare. Sorry, thank you so much, Sri Devi, for your question, because it actually answered my question as well, because we're in a similar situation where we want to move somewhere in the mode of goodness in nature, and we want to get out of the towns and cities. But you're in cities, but you might be near association, but you're in, the mode of passion with everything. And then if you move out to the country and everything, which is what we're trying to do. So we're trying to find somewhere in the middle, and also for Nayana growing up. But I really wanted to know when your book was coming out, your new book about living in nature.
Mataji, you again went on mute.
Oh, Hare Krishna, sorry, I don't know why it keeps going on mute. But yeah, I wanted to know also when your new book was coming out, with regards to growing like natural things, and I think it was about gardening and things. And
I'm asking the same question. When is that book going to get that come out? I've been trying to poke the people who are in that same area. It's happening in London. The book is being printed in London, but I'm not getting any reports. So we had a meeting yesterday, and I asked someone to do some fact finding, find out what stage it's at and when they expect it to be. So I'll have an answer in a couple of days.
okay, lovely. Yeah, we'll definitely be getting that book. Yeah.
I'm very anxious also.
Thank you. So thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, we have a question on chat by Narsingalila Mataji. Yeah, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. It seems that this process of devotional service is really scientific. Sometimes we may finding ourselves waiting for some mercy to change our character, to vanish our anarthas. Just recently, I've heard in one lecture that we have to cultivate our character, consciously putting one's effort to improve. Could you please share more insights on this topic? I see that I continuously struggle with some anarthas. Thank you.
Yes, you have to cultivate your character and continue to try to improve, and that attracts the mercy. Your efforts will attract the mercy. The mercy will make the difference, but you can't just not change or make no efforts and expect mercy to come flying out of the sky and, you know, just falling upon you like raindrops. You have to make the effort. And when Krishna says, oh, yes, they're trying to improve in devotional service, let me help them. You have to, everything's based on desire. And desire is not static, it has to come in actual activity. You have to show Krishna what you want by engaging in that activity or that conscious effort. And just like the Christians, they say, well, you know, Christ, you know, he died for our sins and therefore we are free from sin. And then we can go on doing anything we want, you know. They're just cheating. They're cheating themselves, and they're living in a lie. You have to want to improve. You have to make an effort. Devotional service means to focus on the process and understand where you are and where you need to go next. What is the next step you need to take in devotional service? Where are you stuck?
So that means, Guru Maharaj, it's like a constant self-evaluation we have to do all the time, like not stuck in the comfort zone, getting out of that comfort zone, and also
There's no such thing as a comfort zone. It's just it's a euphemism. It's not a reality. There's no comfort zone in this world. It's just a way of saying I don't have to do much. if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. You can't stay still in life. You have to make an effort to go forward. If you stop trying to go forward, then material energy will automatically push you in the opposite direction. Prabhupada used the example, Krishna consciousness means swimming against the current. So the current is pushing you in a certain direction. And if you're not a good swimmer, or if you stop swimming, you're going to go back in the other direction. But your swimming alone is not your success. If you're swimming towards Krishna, Krishna is going to help you. And therefore you make progress.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. Yeah, recently I heard a lecture where that Prabhu was mentioning about Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, the second canto verse. So he was telling that you have to make your Bhakti Tivrena by overcoming all your weaknesses and working on them step by step. That's what he was encouraging us to do in the lecture.
Yeah. See, do you have a tendency to criticize devotees? That may be a weakness. Do you have a tendency to think you're always right? And, that could be that's a weakness. You think that I know the process of devotional service, therefore I don't have to read the books. That's a weakness. I don't need the association of devotees because, you know, the devotee association makes it hard for me to really practice Krishna consciousness. That means you don't know how to associate with devotees. So there's so many things we can think of. Maybe our weakness is inattentive in chanting, so work on that. Maybe our weakness is that we're eating too much, so try to work on that. Maybe our weakness is that we get easily disturbed by happiness and distress. Work on that. So yeah, as we engage in our practical activities in devotional service, we have to also become aware of and at the same time eliminate those things which are what we call them anarthas or blocks. Some of them are so fine that they are easily removed, and others are like gigantic mountains that we've been fighting for many births. Remember, when we come into this life, we carry from our previous life our baggage, our material baggage. So that baggage is destroyed gradually through the process of devotional service. And then we also take on baggage that we've had before we entered into devotional service in this life also. So yeah, that's why knowing the philosophy and learning how to apply the philosophy, associating with and serving devotees, and practicing hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord pretty much is the essence of our focus in Krishna consciousness. And then these anarthas, or these blocks, anartha, anartha, A-N-A-R-T-H-A. Artha means auspicious, wanted, desirable. Anartha means inauspicious, unwanted, undesirable.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Perhaps we can set one day or a series of days aside and I'll describe the 16 anarthas. And we can use that as a springboard to see where we are and where we need to go.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you, Narsingalila Mataji, for such a wonderful question. Thank you so much. Yeah, Scarlett Mataji, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yes, I just want to double check that I have not misunderstood. We had talked about this devotional service and so on before, and I remember it was something like whatever we do in the name of Lord Krishna, like distributing book or doing listening to songs that it's about Lord Krishna, doing chanting, reading, looking at lecture, and all these count like devotional service. Have I understood it right, or is it wrong?
Well, we should read Nectar Devotion. Do you have that book?
Yes. I
Is
have
it-
read it, a little of it, not all, but a little of it.
If you read the first 19 chapters, which is the first section of Nectar Devotion, it describes the whole process of devotional service.
Okay.
It's the science of devotional service in a condensed form. So in a very quick answer, anything in relationship to Krishna is devotional service. Anything not connected with Krishna is not devotional service.
Okay.
Now, you may do devotional service and at the same time have some material desire to gain something from that service. That is called mixed devotional service. So mixed devotional service still has an element of devotional service, but it is called karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti. That mishra means mixed in. These things are mixed in. So we have to eventually come to Sudha Bhakti or pure devotional service. So try to eliminate these other elements that kind of pollute the process of devotional service. You can't pollute the process, but you can pollute the effects of your efforts by mixing in something material in devotional service. Like, you see many religions, they pray to God for material benefits. And that's their focus, that God is there as the order supplier, and he's all powerful, he's got everything, and he's also very good and kind. So I should pray to him because I need this, I want this. Yeah. So there's no limit to that. We find that very prominent in many of the major religions in the world today. And it's also has filtered into, devotional service too. So be careful of that. Try to remove yourself from any personal desire and serve for the sake of serving. Then you're in a good position to reap the results of your activity.
I'm not looking for money, I promise you. I don't look for anything. I'm too old for that. The only thing I do, I want to learn to understand and to do good deeds. So to please Lord Krishna, nothing else. I don't want anything for it. Nothing. I don't want anything for it. When I started, it was because I want to understand the life meaning and everything I've been through. I just wanted to know why, what it happens, why it happens. That is what I started with. But then afterwards, so I got more understanding of it, and it took it. I love it. I believe in it fully. and I distribute book. I buy the book, I pay for them, but I don't take money from the people that I give them as a gift, because I know these people are very, very, very good people, that they are going to read, that they are going to take it to the heart. So I distribute without anything to get back. I just give it because I believe that it will help them.
Well, that's good, but don't be proud of your good works.
No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What I meant that I'm not looking for nothing. I'm not looking for anything. I just want to know that I'm doing right.
When I give you an answer, don't try to fight my answer with your, just telling you, these things are very subtle. We can't even see our own contaminations. Don't think you're so advanced.
No, 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 I'm not. I'm not.
You're speaking like you're on the highest platform right now. So a person who's on the highest platform doesn't speak like that. They speak that they're just full of bad qualities. So if you're free from any personal motivation, that's nice. Just keep it in your heart. Don't broadcast it.
Good Maharaj, do we have more time to take any more questions, Maharaj?
Yeah.
Revati Mataji, I saw your hand up. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question, or?
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Just a small clarification. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the very nice class. Just clarification, Guru Maharaj, like you mentioned about all these anarthas, right? We need to focus on those things. We need to put an effort, endeavor, when we have different, you have mentioned few things, like when we associate with a devotee or inattentive chanting, we develop some criticizing things. So many things we encounter. Personally, I also face those challenges. Whenever we meet a person, we have like an exchange of energy. So if you can just suggest how to because I remember in the retreat, Chiti Shakti Mataji also mentioned, like when we meet a person, we have to understand we are different from them. So when we understand that, we don't exchange that energy, so that we can avoid some anarthas. So I have a very hard time doing that. So if you have any suggestions, so that we don't carry their energy, and so we don't lose that.
Learn how to listen.
Yes.
Learn how to listen. If you're a good listener, you'll find conversation becomes easy. With most people, there was always those who will take advantage of that. But you learn how to listen, then you hear exactly what you're supposed to hear and how you're supposed to hear it, and then you can respond. Then conversation becomes easier. Always develop a sense of respect for everybody you meet. Don't disrespect anybody, no matter who they are, or even if they're not respectable. Still, Bhakti Vinod Thakur also says, I live in this world somehow because I give respect to everyone. And the fact that Krishna is in the heart of all living entities is the indication that person, in that sense, is respectable. But respect is also due according to situation and person. So if you're meeting in a conversation, learn how to listen, and when it's your time to speak, then you'll be able to speak properly. But if we're so eager to, when you get two people together and they both want to speak, there's no communication.
So Guru Maharaj, if you are getting energy, like a negative energy, so you also mentioned a lot of times we need to respond, not react.
Today I was walking and some person that I'm working with, all of a sudden he was putting out negative energy. I turned around and walked away. He got the message. As soon as the negative energy came, I decided that it's time for me to move on. I didn't try to change him. I just walked away. That's one tactic. And it diffuses the energy. I'm not saying that is the only way you deal with it. There are many ways to deal with it. Excuse me, sir, but what I'm hearing you're saying is this, this, and this. Now, can you please explain to me what you actually mean? That's a polite way of diffusing the negativity. Excuse me, I need to hear a little bit more from you about what you're trying to explain to me, and you introduce yourself in a very polite way. But in most cases, it depends on the person. Depends on the person. If it's somebody that's closely related to you, that's one thing. If it's just a casual acquaintance, that's another thing. Or if it's a stranger, it's another thing. Now, if you really want to go the route and read the song of the Avanti Brahman in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 23rd chapter. And I don't think anybody can come up to that level of tolerance that he developed. But he's showing in a complete way that how the soul is never affected by what happens on the external platform. He remains fixed in his awareness that he has nothing to do with what people are saying about him. Because they're all saying it about his body, he understands. I'm not the body. When I was a kid, we kind of grew up with this saying, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt. That's a cheap way of saying the same thing. But ultimately, the soul is never affected by what happens on the material level. But if you keep the soul connected to Krishna, then you're never affected by anything. So if you want to learn tolerance, then you should read that chapter. It's a long chapter, 61 verses in that chapter. But it's interesting. It's a very nice, I can't use the word nice, very powerful message that is being given to us through the life of this Brahmin, who was very, very rich, but very much greedy. And he wouldn't spend any money on himself. He wouldn't spend any money on his family members, even if they needed it. He made them live in poverty. He lived in somewhat limited poverty himself. And he just hoarded all his money. And then all of a sudden, Providence came along and took everything away from him. And all he was left was with nothing. And his family members deserted him. Friends were gone. Nobody was around anymore. And then seeing his situation, he came he got the realization that came by way of Krishna of complete detachment. He detached himself from everything. And then it goes on to explain from that point how his life unfolded. So, and you can see what he had to go through in order to maintain his Krishna consciousness, but he never felt anxiety or enmity or hatred or indifference to anybody who mistreated him. Because he understood they're not mistreating me, it's mistreating my body, and I'm not my body. I'm not my mind. Now, read it. Of course, to come up to that level, might take a whole lifetime, or maybe even more. But there's messages in there that we can learn from. And the purports are quite powerful because they're given by the acharyas.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Sure, I'll read that, Guru Maharaj. But these classes are so helpful. Whenever we come here, as you said, it will remind us that we are not this body. We are the soul. It helps us to set our consciousness. Yeah, I'll keep trying. I'll keep put my efforts and endeavor with your blessings. Yeah. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Okay, good, Maharaj. I think there are no more questions. I think we can end the call here. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for participating in the question answer session. And as Guru Maharaj said, we need regular hearing. Please join these daily classes regularly and give your association. Such wonderful classes by Guru Maharaj every day. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you.
Gurudev ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna to everyone.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
For today.
Hare Krishna. Please get well soon, Guru Maharaj. Please take all medicines and everything. You don't hurt so much anymore.
I have a very strange question that keeps bothering me. Maybe someone can answer my question.